And like I said, I don't record the after hour. I just take the live and I just transfer it back over and just leave it public.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the after hour. I figure
Yeah.
why? And
Not
eventually when I mean, I mean, yeah, we didn't really bring it up on the show because I mean, yeah, the show is it travels to all of the podcast channels and everything like that. So wherever
yeah.
you find podcasts, you should be able to find us. But what is happening exclusively on YouTube is we crossed 500 subscribers. We are at 529 now.
That blows my mind. That I mean,
I'm still guess like I'm still guessing like most of them are bots. I don't understand how this is happening so fast.
I feel
So
like even I feel
I'm
like
guessing most are bots.
I feel like even getting bot subscribers requires you to get a certain more amount of traffic at least to for the bot to think you're worth tapping onto.
That's true. The one thing that I'm kind of latching onto is that we're by the time we reach next episode, we will be well over 2,000 watch hours. And once we reach 3,000, that's when we can start listing the books on the channel. So
Mm, okay.
that's probably going to like we'll probably like it's kind of crazy to think about it, but we will be at that point before the new year. Based off how this has gone because
That's yeah.
I mean, our watch hours are getting faster as time is going on. It's not slowing down. So based off of how fast it's gone already, uh we'll be there by the new year.
You
A
know,
little bit faster
and
than the 2.5 year mark that they said.
here's the amazing thing about this, and this is like I don't know how many people are watching now, or how many people even do we even put out the after hours as a podcast, or is that just the main show?
No, well, on YouTube it's a podcast, so you can still
Okay,
listen to it on like YouTube Music and all that. But I don't edit the
okay,
after hour and put it across all the channels, mostly because we don't have a name for it.
okay, yeah. Well, because
And when the time comes where we have memberships and stuff like that, the after hour is going to be exclusive to the members.
okay, okay, cool. So I mean, because here's what I want to say, and if you know any of the this is mostly kind of a message to the audience, but also kind of me thinking out loud. Um, we are by all rights breaking the rules because in every other like when it comes to movie geeks and that and stuff like that, when it comes to the kind of to the audience for your average audience of folks like us, the main thing that they tell you to do is to chase what's trending. You know, if there's a
We don't
new
do that.
no, we do the exact opposite of that. We are intentionally going for movies that we hope you've never heard of before so we can tell you about it. We are, even between us, like we are choosing the movies based on I'm pretty sure Brad's never seen that movie before. Um and the
Oh,
fa-
it goes the other way too. A lot of the things
and
that I've seen, like I know that you have taken a few decades away from the mainstream, so and some of these mainstream movies are a lot like because like people who love the indie market, they just kind of automatically push a lot of hatred towards the mainstream, and I get it. But
Mhm.
the mainstream pulls it off.
No, that's
Sometimes they
true.
do.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give them credit where credit is due, sure. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing that I find amazing about this is the fact that we are doing precisely what they tell you not to do. We aren't chasing the trends. We aren't going for the whatever the hashtag is. You know, when the new Spider-Man movie comes out, we're not going to be trying to be the first ones to review that. We'll wait 20 years for everyone to forget about it first, and then we'll review it.
I
um,
I don't know. Like on this particular podcast, yeah, but on like throughout the channel, I've been thinking about ways that I can expand and keep doing things. And direct movie reviews, I've thought about it. However, how
mm,
expensive that would be to go to the movie theater every single week and watch like
I
five
know, right?
movies. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. I don't even know how they do that.
Right, yeah. I mean, if it's your job, if you are someone who does manage to have like the kind of like views that you can say that you are a paid creator, and so it is your job to go see all the movies and review them
Well,
all. That
but
makes
for the
sense.
most part, we're watching movies that we genuinely love.
Hmm.
If we were doing the thing where we're just watching whatever comes out, I don't want to do that. Like there are some movies that I have seen that I have become genuinely offended at how bad it is. Like
I feel you there. Yeah. Yeah.
like I remember I watched one of those Hunger Game movies and I loved the first one. And
Mm.
I think it was maybe the third or fourth one, I don't know. But when I got to the end of the movie, I like pulled up the IMDb and I was like walking around my bedroom and just walking around the bed kind of ranting. I'm like, this writer was on this and like he did this and this and that. This movie had like four directors and they did this and this. Like,
Hmm.
how did this happen?
Right.
Like, I was just blown away. I'm
Yep.
like, millions, millions, millions. You have Donald Sutherland. How did this happen? Like, I could not understand
Yeah.
how something could fall
Well,
so flat on its face
it,
after it
it
started so damn well.
it feels like that's what everyone's saying about the Metropolis movie. That like every name attached to that is like some sort of master in their field, and yet somehow it came out an absolute piece of shit.
Oh no, it's
Um,
bad.
it's what I heard. Like I like well,
Oh.
like I have not yet seen a review that it says anything positive about it at all. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting
Hmm.
for it to come out on home video because I cannot afford to go to the movie theater anymore. Um,
Eh, that well, so here's the thing. Way too many haters. You can't judge these things. Like the amount of hatred that I saw going towards the Agatha series, it was crazy. Then
mm,
I watched it and I was like, why?
really, that's interesting because I've seen zero hate.
Oh yeah. No, I saw
I
like it was another like Marvel gone woke, like all this stuff. Basically
okay,
the same thing as like the Star Wars Acolyte show. It was
okay.
getting a lot of the same stuff. However, there's one thing that Agatha all along had that the Acolyte did not have.
Mm.
Catherine Hahn.
Oh well, for sure, yeah.
You didn't have an actor who is so comedically iconic that like the Acolyte did not have anything. You had Carrie Ann Moss, so you got like the Matrix people that kind of came over across.
Sure.
Some like the ones like the Matrix fans that are a fan of the Wachowski sisters,
Yeah.
like they're the ones who were big fans of that as well. But you didn't. Who was the powerhouse that was carrying the Acolyte?
That's a good question. Well, and the interesting thing is, like, you kind of have to question of whether or not that needs to happen. Like, I think when you get something as big, like, uh, and I know it's attractive. Like when you have a big franchise, you kind of want to be big enough that people want to be seen in it.
I think you're taking it the wrong way than I said it.
Hmm.
Sorry. Let me elaborate.
Okay.
You need the best actor. You need the strongest one. You need like not the biggest name or anything like that. Catherine Hahn
Oh,
is she has earned her iconic status
sure. Yeah.
because she is a powerhouse. I'm not saying that her name was the powerhouse. I'm saying she is.
Oh, okay.
The Acolyte didn't have anybody like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So I haven't
That's
seen
what
the
I'm saying.
Acolyte yet either.
I saw a few episodes, and that's kind of the thing. For me to turn something off, it's got to be not.
Hmm.
And here's the thing: I'm not saying it was bad. It just did not grab me in any
Sure.
way,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that is another mark of kind of being bad.
Yeah, I could see
Like
that.
it. So not bad. Just it wasn't good.
Okay.
And
And
there are
that's fair.
people who will watch it literally just to see lightsaber fights, and
Yep.
and there is
That's
that
absolutely
demographic.
fair. Yeah.
And yeah, no, it is fair. Yeah, of course. I'm not knocking that.
Hmm.
I'm just saying that ain't me.
Yeah.
I loved the original Star Wars because I was really invested in the story.
Hmm.
The idea of the Force and all that. Go watch the original trilogy. I mean, it's not that grand.
No.
It's about the connections of the characters. it's not about the grandiose effects and the
Hmm.
magic and all of this. Those are the backdrops to our fantastic story.
Yeah.
They kind of stopped doing fantastic stories.
Yeah. Well, and
Well, I heard some of like the animated shows. The stories are really good there.
I've heard the
I
animated stories
cannot
are very good. Yeah.
stand that style of animation.
Oh, that very 3D look that they had going on.
Yeah, like you remember why this is kind of a gap. Like I was a little bit too old for this, so really kind of doubt that you saw this. It was like a 3D animated show called Reboot, I think it was called.
I remember that show. Yes. I didn't
I
ever see it, but I do remember seeing commercials for it, so I was very aware of it. Yes.
I thought like the premise of it was kind of cool, everything like that. So I tried to watch it because I thought the premise was cool. I hated it. I hated the
Mm.
animation style. It drove me insane constantly. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. There's something about that, like, and I get it. There are, I like, I know when I say that I watch anime, that like tells people that like, oh, he's the. No, I've seen like 9 anime. They're just all really, really good
Right.
because
The
I'll
Golden
watch
Nine,
one
you could
episode.
say.
There you go, sure.
Yeah.
Like I've watched I'll watch an episode or two of another one. I'll be like, okay, this is definitely not for me. This isn't my type of like. No, I'm
Right.
not
Yeah.
in on this. But then I'll watch some of the other ones and be like, this is storytelling on a level that I have not seen in any movie or TV show
Right.
ever. What
Right.
is this?
Hmm.
Those like, and that's what you get from a show that has 900 episodes. You get long form storytelling that you get the ability to take time and literally years and watch characters grow.
Yeah.
That is cool. I really enjoy that aspect of it. Um, Doing anime style movies, they're missing the mark because it's
Mm.
not the style,
Right.
it's the characters.
Right. Exactly.
And it's not what the characters look like, it's
With
the characters.
right. With on occasion, you will occasionally get something that from an artistic viewpoint translates better in animation, not just because of physical
Agreed.
limitations, but also like sometimes, and this is, I think this is probably somewhere in the same vein as the uncanny valley. Sometimes when you're seeing something that is unrealistic, it's easier to accept in a certain visual style, such as like a drawn picture or animation, than it would be in with live action people. And
Okay,
when you
so
try to
I think this is going to be the anime after hour.
okay, okay. I have a lot of anxiety about approaching that subject, knowing the attitudes of both the fan base and the anti fan base.
Where I do understand that.
What are you looking up? Are you actually putting the title "The Anime After Hours" on our screen?
No, I added in a comment that I guess like now we're talking anime. Just,
Okay,
you
all
know,
right.
like I gotta kind of formulate this so if people do like jump in on the chat, they can like look at the comments, see what we're talking about, and maybe
Ah, I see what
like
you're saying. Okay,
I
very smart. These
like
are the
if we're gaining subscribers, I need to figure out how to actually navigate entertaining them beyond. I mean, if they're here for some reason, but
yeah,
I want to try to figure out how to engage and make it more fun for the audience.
fantastic. Okay.
So, uh, talking about like where I said I've seen like 9, Yu Yu Hakusho is one of the best like that I've seen.
Mm, okay.
And there, have you ever seen that one?
No, I don't know that one.
There is a fight sequence that is animated between a character Genkai and another character Taguro. For anybody who jumps in on this one, my God, you will immediately know everything I'm talking about. But the way that that fight scene is drawn, there is emotion in the drawing, in the
Right.
way like I I want to send you to go watch that because we're like, and I really do mean this. Like a lot of people say that the Dark Tournament is some of the best television that has ever been made.
Okay.
It is pretty damn impressive. For a frame of reference, the writer of Yu Yu Hakusho was married to the writer of Sailor Moon.
Okay. Okay.
So apparently they were a
Interesting.
powerhouse nerd couple.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the trying to think. So I've seen like yeah, like Dragon Ball,
Sure.
Yu Yu Hakusho, Death Note, Naruto, um, and I'm already running out. I'm already having trouble thinking of other ones that I've seen. Like I
You have
said,
not seen Cowboy Bebop, though. You
I
did tell
have
me
not
that.
seen Cowboy. No, I haven't.
Okay.
That's one that has been pushed on me a lot.
That's one of those ones, and I've said this before, and I firmly believe it. It is good. It is solidly a good story. I think it gets a little more hype than it deserves, mainly because when when you have that friend come to you and say, "Hey, I hear this anime thing is pretty fun. Do you have any titles to recommend?" Cowboy Bebop is the only safe recommendation that where you can be guaranteed your friend will not call the police on you after they watch it. So
I know I've had a lot of friends recommend that I check out a lot of stuff, and when I go watch it, I go back and look at them like
yeah,
because yeah, no, like yeah, like the people who make fun of anime fans for being perverts, you cannot argue.
yeah, no, I'm
There's
genuinely worried
too much of
about
it that they really push some pretty
like
perverse shit.
yeah, and it's not just the fact that they put it's like it's how repetitive it is. Like the fact that you can literally count down like you start a new show and you can start counting down how long until they introduce a character that is way too into their little sister. Like
Yeah, see
it's like this
that
is
type
like
of stuff. Oh, there you go,
we have
Sword Art Online. I've seen that one.
oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
no,
it's like
like
here in
that's a
America, we've got the
show.
wacky neighbor. In Japan, they've got the incestuous sibling for some weird reason. I'm
Yeah, that's a
like,
crazy trope.
yeah.
Like, because the thing is, I guess I do not know this for certain. This is something I was told, and I really don't have confidence in saying it, so I probably shouldn't. But they were
Well, I
saying
mean,
like in Japan, you can like marrying your cousin is not an abnormal thing, and that's why like in the show Sword Art Online, the little girl was like really embarrassed that she had a crush on her brother, but then she found out that he's her cousin, and there wasn't a problem with that anymore. That's weird to me. That is unbelievably weird to me. I do not approve of that,
that is
and
strange. But okay, if you're
yeah,
gonna tell
no,
me it's a
because
cultural thing, yeah, I can only
at that point in the show, his like little sister that is actually his cousin like has a crush on him and is like hoping to do something about it, but then learns that there's this other woman. That's creepy. That is
yeah.
creepy and gross, and I'm not cool with that.
It,
But
and it's weird, yes. I mean, and it's like, well, it's like, yeah,
mm-hmm.
sure, we had Game of Thrones for sure, but here's the thing: that was a massive plot point that was directly presented as a major fucking problem. It was not, you
And
know,
that
wacky
is
neighbor.
what made it acceptable. Like the
Exactly.
fact that it was an issue is what made it okay to represent.
Yeah,
Having it not be an issue, like
having it be practically the reason this character
having
even exists in the
House of the
show.
Dragon.
Mm,
House of the
haven't seen it.
Dragon, infinitely more creepy.
No, okay.
Like because those are the Targaryens, and that is very well established how the Targaryens got down.
Right, right.
And the show is just talking about it like it's just the thing. And dude, no. Like these types of things stop.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't know why this is the new fad, like all this stuff. Like it's way too gross.
I I wonder. Like that's the thing. I was like, I got it, and I realized that even in Japan, anime fans are just as much a minority as they are here. But I still worry about Japan's mental health whenever I watch whenever I watch anime. Um, so it's weird, and I also have an issue with, and I thought this was just an anime thing until I saw it on a live action Japanese show as well, about why it is they go out of their way to tell you which characters are virgins and which ones are not. Like, it is really peculiar why they do that. I cannot figure out why that is so important to every character's establishment, is to who has and who hasn't had sex yet. And I thought it was just a weird anime thing. Then I saw it on a live action Japanese show as well. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And they even took it a step further in that show where they basically explained why one of the antagonist characters on the show, the like she basically is setting people up to die, and she explains her motivation. The reason why she's such a bastard and is getting everybody killed is because her soul has been rotten by the time from the time that she had sex with her boss.
Good God.
Yeah, like that literally, like the character motivation is I'm evil because I have fucked before. That was so I'm like,
Good God.
what is Japan has a birth problem, I think.
So here's what I found.
I'm
In
not
Japan,
judging. I'm not judging, but I
I
just think
am.
maybe we should look into this.
I am.
I, I don't feel
You
it's my.
you you play it safe. I'm judging.
I don't think
In
it's my
Japan,
place to lecture other cultures to that degree. I'm just saying perhaps you should consider a few things. If there's anyone in Japan listening, just give it some thought.
that is very enlightened of you. That is very safe of you. I'm not you.
Okay.
I'm going to say in Japan, romance and marriage between cousins is legal. I'm going to say that's messed up. There are cultural and social stigmas surrounding this practice, and it is not very common. Good.
Okay.
The Japanese civil code allows marriage between blood relatives up to third degree of kinship, which includes first cousins. That is disgusting. I I get that it's not my culture and everything
Right.
like that. However, I do have a brain. I have an opinion. I'm gonna use it.
So
Y'all, that's
here's
icky. The fact
yeah.
that it's not common is because they recognize that it's icky. So I'm not alone in judging that. They're judging that. So
Right.
I'm totally cool with it, like my position here.
So here's interesting. This is I'm going to rail us all the way back to some earlier conversations we had on earlier episodes. Because
All
remember
right.
how when we saw Predestination,
Mm-hmm.
and I was telling you about how like Heinlein's kind of a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good writer. He's many award winner. I dated women who loved his work. Um,
You did mention a few things about him though, yeah.
yeah, and this is an example of kind of where this guy, like where his thinking went, and why once I realized it was him, I'm kind of sitting here going like, okay, let's try to unwrap where he was here. So he's got this one book called the unpleasant occupation, I think is what it was, of
Okay.
Jonathan Hogg. Like is the name of the main character. I can't remember exactly. I'm fucking the title up, but it's actually a collection of short stories. Because you have this main character named Jonathan Hogg who is immortal, and so there's basically this is a collection of stories of little events and moments that happened in his life that may have hundreds of years apart in them. And so that's basically what this is. This is a bunch of very high end sci-fi stories spanning a couple thousand years into the future, with the thread between them being they're all being said from the point of view of this one guy who just happens to be immortal, and so he's living through all this stuff.
Okay.
One of the stories involves he's on a space station with a very, very limited population on it, and there are a brother and sister who are in love. And because they have figured out precisely which genome combination causes birth defects when siblings mate. He's able to test their blood, verify that they don't actually have this genome combination, and it would therefore be safe for them to have babies. He then allows them to get married and performs their marriage to marry these two siblings because they are lucky enough to not have the genetic combination that would actually cause birth defects.
Gross.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Heinlein.
Okay. No, no, no. Yeah, you have told me that Heinlein is yeah, he's a bit of a weirdo. That is beyond. Like I get it. Like the creativity and you put something in there, you come up with a story, everything like that. And you can create that world, but why create that world? That's the question.
Okay, so here when I had this conversation with my ex-wife, this was her take on this, and it was because assuming that our entire basis of this division between you don't marry close family comes from this idea that it is not good for, interbreeding is not good, it creates issues. Then if you had a scientific way of either knowing or preventing those issues, why then we have to ask ourselves, we have that division. Why is it gross? Like is basically what the question that is planted in like that is posed by the by Heinlein is that if we don't actually have
See, I don't like that. You know who poses that question?
people who want to fuck their sister, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They want that conversation to happen because they want somebody in the world to tell them, "Oh, you're right. That's a good point. You should go engage in said act." No, gross, wrong. Just what the fuck? Like, okay, like when we talked about Stephen King in the past. Okay, I guess I got to change what we're chatting about now. Talking about fucked up writers now. Ah, good God. No, but like,
and
okay,
I'm
so
actually
Stephen
medicated
King,
tonight, and we're doing this.
yeah, that's what's truly amazing. The the actual end in the novel for Stephen King's it
Oh, we're going
ends.
there. Oh,
Yes,
dude, you really
God
want to go
damn it.
there?
Okay, no, you went there. I just carried on the conversation. Let's be real fucking clear about that.
Okay.
Okay, no. Okay, so Robert Heinlein talks about a scientist who comes up with safely making it so siblings can hook up and have babies. Dude, wrong. That is wrong. Like he had to like specifically sit down and like engineer in his mind how he made it all the way to let that happen. Stephen King at the end of the book It has a
Call it what it is, man.
gangbang
Yeah,
with
that's what it is.
the child characters so they all can remember what happened to them. It has been discussed on this channel that he says that he doesn't remember writing that because he
Right,
had like months of cocaine. It
right.
has also come out that he has said, he's like, I don't see what people's problem with that is. It happens. Kids have sex. Like, that is the thing. Like, it's not something you want to think about and all that. It's like, you're right. We don't. That's why you don't put crap like that into like yeah, okay, yes, like first kiss. Like there are
Hmm.
things that could have happened, but to go that far
Yeah,
is wrong.
like, and in every way it was wrong because it wasn't even just like two crazy kids. They had a crazy night. They're winding down. Oh, okay, maybe we're gonna hook up. No, we're talking about a literal, actual gangbang in
No,
the sewers.
like I will admit that I was too young when I lost my V card. I will admit that completely.
Mm.
But I'm going to say that like just oh my god, I like so okay, the
And there
point
was
of
no
me
point of it
saying
in the
that.
story. That's the crazy thing too.
Well, no, the point of it in the story was they wanted to make a memory so strong that none of them would ever forget it.
Nope, incorrect.
What? I
Nope.
thought,
I read the fucking book. I remember exactly what the reason was.
okay, explain.
After the first time they kill the it creature, they're trying to get out. They can't find a way out of the sewer. They think they're lost and they're going to die in the sewer. The chick goes, I think I know what's up. We need to bond and then we'll be able to get out. So they do that and then they're able to find the exit of the sewer.
Okay, yeah,
So yeah, it's even worse than you thought.
yeah, I What the hell, man?
No,
I
here's
mean,
what amazes me, because
because
here's the thing.
because like I remember I remember like reading books like when I was younger, and I was absolutely blown away by like some of the murder scenes and some of the
Mhm,
murderers and serial killers and stuff like that. And these were like fictional books. Like these were about written by John Sanford, and it's the Prey series. I absolutely love this series. I've read almost every book, but like some of those murder scenes, I was like flabbergasted with the detail and stuff like that that went into it. Some of the stuff that I have found out about other writers and what they have put into their stuff,
mhm.
I oh my god, man. And these are wildly successful writers, and these books have sold millions of copies. And inside of those books are some of the most jacked up things.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I get, I got questions, man. That I mean, like, what it really boils down to is I just got questions. Why is it okay for the authors to write that stuff? Who is really interested in reading those things? Because let's just find out really quick here.
Well, I mean, if we're being, and it's, I find myself at odds for the fact, because, as a writer myself, I certainly wouldn't want anyone telling me what I can and can't write, for sure. Especially when we're just talking about words on page. It's not like we're making a
Two
movie and we're making some child actors do that. I mean, that never happened. In every adaptation of it, they've
that's
never
true.
even gone close to that scene. Good for them.
2.5 million copies of the book It have been
Yeah,
sold.
yeah. That's not a selling point of the book, for sure. It's a Stephen King horror book. It's gonna sell that much,
Where I
regardless.
do understand that, the fact that I have only had that, like, I've only heard that part of the book brought up maybe 3 times,
it is
or
kind of
from like
it
three
is kind
different
of weird
people.
how people don't talk about it. Yeah, that's true.
That
Yes.
is where I think some like that is weird.
Well, and what gets me about it, and this is the thing, is like I'm even willing to go so far as to allow King that excuse of, okay, we do know, in fact, know that you had a major drug problem for a while. Okay.
Well, what about the
However,
publisher? What about the editor?
that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, we're talking like editors, publishers, book reviewers who had to read the book to write about it when it came out in the New York Times. Nobody brought it up. Nobody said a damn word. Nobody was like, okay, it's pretty good, but I'm worried about Steve. Should someone check on him? Like like
Honestly,
that's the part that threw me about it. Like if
like
you know,
how accepted that whole thing was, and it
yep,
like that's weird.
yes, that is weird. Like
Um,
I get putting controversial shit in your book, but yeah, and again, like the way this is written, like in this scene, like literally his editors could have just taken that chapter, dropped it in the garbage, and it would not have been missed. It was never called back, it was never referenced to. It was literally just an extra chapter put in there to go, oh, they're lost, they can't get out of the sewer, and then now they're out of the sewer, and that's it. It didn't need to be there. It could have been removed, but they didn't remove it. No one said a word about it. It's that's and all the millions of people who read the book have never had an issue with it. That's the part that's weird, is the fact that no one seems to take issue with it, and will even, some people will even say it's their favorite Stephen King book, and I could even say, like, it's my favorite Stephen King book because of all the fucked up shit that happened in it, including that and the whole bit with the refrigerator and this whole bit with her
mm.
father. Like, there's a lot of disturbing shit in this book that really like got a rise out of me. No one seems to remember that that's in the book whenever they talk about it.
And that's the thing that like that's just really
Like, there was a
freaking
while there I
weird.
thought I was crazy. I felt like I was the only one who remembered that.
No, I apparently I don't remember it as well because I thought it was like because everybody else had forgotten it. So
Yeah.
that was the thing that they had to that they decided to do to make sure that they never forgot.
Nope. It was to break the spell that was keeping them from getting out of the sewer. That Beverly
Ugh.
intuitively knew what was going on and how to do it and how to do it. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Nope. Nope, it does not. So it's like,
No.
sure, you can have something like the Game of Thrones shit, but that was a point of the story. There was a point of having it in there, and the point of that it was in there was it was horrific.
Okay,
Having
so I
that,
guess that prompts a question.
mm,
What's the most fucked up thing that you've included in one of your stories? Or have you been playing it safe?
I have been playing it safe. Actually, that's the thing because um, here's the thing: my mother reads everything I write.
Oh, that is charming and
Yes.
dangerous. I could see
Yep.
how that yeah.
So perhaps someday in the future, as much as I don't like to think about it, she is probably she will someday pass away. Perhaps when that happens, all of the worst shit I've ever thought of in the last 40 years will probably all come out in a single book. Um,
That would be a pretty crazy book, I would have
yeah.
to imagine.
But I mean, to
Um
be fair, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Especially when you're in a creative space, sometimes you go dark spaces and you're not proud of where you went. But then, even when you pull yourself back, you think to yourself, "Ah, but man, that would make a really good story. You can really work. That's a lot of meat to
no,
work
you
with, you
really
know."
have to let that happen if you're
Yep.
going to tell a story about a good villain.
Right.
Like you have to be able to access certain parts of yourself, and in my current book that I'm writing right now, I'm about to get into the villainous, really villainous parts of the stories.
Yeah.
And as much fun as my brain has when I'm like writing Descartes, and it's very jovial and Akil and it's very fun and stuff like that, I know that when it gets time to write the villains and I put myself in that mind space, it's going to be a wildly depressing time. I'm going to have to come up with things that I am not going to want to come up with, and I'm going to be very creeped out, and I'm going to judge the shit out of myself. I know that.
Mm. Oh yeah.
Um because
And
there are scenes, because I remember years ago sitting
mhm.
there watching the Saw movies with one of my old buddies before I ever even left North Dakota,
Oh, okay.
and like talk about like, hey man, if you would come up with a contraption or something like that, like what would you come up with? And we played that game like while we were sitting there drinking for hours, and we came up with some real messed up stuff. And I remember some of it. So like there are some things that
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely not proud of the
Well,
fact. Well, I know, okay, no, I was very proud of the fact that I came up with that stuff just because of the creative aspect.
right.
None of it had to do with little kids doing the naughty. That's just that is like, see, that is a level of, I don't want to say evil, but that's just doesn't belong.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you can even to a certain degree, like even like Secret Ballot we just saw. There's a married 12-year-old in that movie. Okay. That
There's
is
enough tragedy in the knowledge of that.
exactly, yes. And
Yes.
there is, you know, you can have tragic and even non-tragic aspects of a story for some world building. There are things that you can do that would be considered. My main characters in my books are in a polyamorous relationship. Granted, we are well in a safe space for that right now, but there was once upon a time when that would have been wildly controversial. But
Yeah, that's areas of the country, man. That's still wildly controversial in other
that's
areas of the
fair,
country.
you know. But it's not there just because I'm like, oh, let's be controversial and shove this idea in here. No, this is
It's the
their
character.
characters. I
Yeah.
wove this into the story. If I removed that aspect from the book, that would fuck the story up because and that's the thing is like if removing this aspect doesn't fuck your story up, then it doesn't need to be there. And that's true for everything, especially this shit.
Well, that's kind of like, that actually leads me into another question. Um
Hmm.
like, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, some characters are gay, some characters are bi. It just kind of like you next time. But do you ever just decide that a character is gay or bi, or XYZ before the character is written, or is that something that kind of happens as it goes?
That's something that kind of happens as it goes, and
Okay.
it does. I mean, well, sometimes. I guess it depends. Um, like I have for the sake of, there are some characters I've created where I've gone like, I'm a little too vanilla. Like I'm about halfway through the story and I realized so far all of my characters are all guys. I need to put a girl in here just you know because I think it's boring otherwise. It's not about being PC. It's about just having something other than the same thing as yesterday. Like that's basically what it comes down to. And so yeah, I'll
Hmm.
decide ahead of time this character's gay just to toss it up a little bit. No pun
Well,
intended.
when I
Uh,
go
but
ahead.
but yes, like well, like for instance, in my series, Carl, I have been toying around with the idea of to whether or not make Carl bi, and I haven't decided yet, and I haven't decided if it's even going to come up.
The way it reads kind of makes a little bit of sense there.
hmm
I could
I'm
I could see that.
like I do know ahead of time he's got kind of a thing for a character that you have not met yet because he's introduced in book 3. Whether or
Oh,
not they ever
fair.
get together, I have not decided, but there's a part of me that also thinks maybe something between Carl and Osric could happen because
You
they
know we're
do.
on the air, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I
the
just
first.
I
It's
like.
the first. It's the first book, and I'm talking about things that aren't decided. So
Oh, okay. Well, there.
yeah,
Okay, that is fair. Um,
and so that's the thing. Is like, yeah, it really does become a thing where it's like I'm not doing it to try to entice anything or try to make a statement there. It literally is a case of if I'm going to be writing about these people, I don't want to be bored with it, so I'm going to throw some variety in.
that's a really good point. Uh, I actually got really mad when I came up with Esmeralda.
Oh, really?
I've told you about this. I think I told you about this last year. When I came up with the idea, I told you about the idea, and I was like, "Will you please write her? I don't want to do this.
Oh, that
This is
one.
a yes."
Yes, I do remember what you're talking about now. Yes, yes, yes. That's some pretty hardcore shit. And yes, I get why you'd have some trouble with that.
Yeah, like that's
Um,
one of those things. Like because one, I introduced a female character, and I that was not an intentional thing. It was I was laying in bed one night, I was coming up with characters, and just I came up with the story, and as I was laying there, I just let the story unfold, and it got darker and darker and
mhm.
darker, and I'm like, okay, is there any possible way to make this character a man? No. How the hell do I, a man, write a story about a woman that is just being crazy tortured? I don't
You
like it.
know, the weird thing is,
But I have but the no okay, but before you say this, I have talked to multiple women about the premise of this story,
mhm,
and all of them want to read it. They
yeah,
want to know it. They are not offended by it. They are not creeped out. Like nothing that I was expecting. They're like, write that.
right, yeah.
I do not understand this space.
Here, here's the crazy thing. Here's the thing.
Because I thought that would be like,
The
oh God, yeah, man
and
writing
I
this, everything like that, kind of torture porn ish is how they would
right,
view
yeah.
it. Never expected support.
Here's the thing, and I'm giving an anecdotal, okay?
Sure.
So don't take this as gospel. This is literally just something that you know,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, because it's like it is a very touchy subject as far as like men writing women characters for sure. Mostly because there seems to be too many guys out there who do it badly, and I don't understand how that's possible. Who are these guys? Why do people keep giving them things to write with? But
I mean I don't know how you write a woman poorly if you can write a man well. I mean,
that's
either
the
you're
thing.
a good writer or a bad one.
So I was working on this one thing, a project that you are aware of, but I'm not speaking of because it is in a weird vortex that I don't know where it's going to end up. Um,
True, we need to know how to advertise that one.
right. Um, but my main character was getting ready to go to a party. Basically, was what it is, and she is dressing for it. She's picking out clothes. She's and I'm thinking about it. I'm sitting here going like, how do I write this? How do I write a woman getting ready for a party? And I literally just went, okay, where was I? Like when I'm getting ready for a party, and it's not just the usual like, ah, fuck it, I'll just throw on my jeans. If it is literally like, if it's a fancy party and I do want to impress the people there, okay, what am I anxious about? What am I nervous about? What am I what is my train of thought as I who own one suit for my entire life, but I'm trying to put together an ensemble. And I literally just did that, and I just changed the pronouns to she instead of he. I
Hmm.
changed the suit into a dress, and that was basically all I did. I literally just wrote myself as a woman without any real effort. And when a woman I knew read that part, she looked at me and said, "How the fuck do you write women so well?"
Ah!
So
Like,
honestly, I really, really think the issue is that guys have some stupid belief that women are some alien creature that have to be written like alien creatures, and that's what fucks us up. We really are not that different.
I'm going to blame a lot of women for telling us you don't understand how women think.
Oh, for sure. Well, and part of it there is a cultural aspect too. I mean, let's be honest. Since the day we're born, like the moment we go to our first preschool, the boys play over here and the girls play over here. And if a boy or a girl ever cross that border, they're immediately called by a different name. Ladies' man,
Hmm.
tomboy, something like that. We are taught from a very early age that there is a divide between boys and girls from which there will always be a rift. And when you isolate two cultures, they form two different cultures. So we
This
have
is
been
fair.
alienated from each other. We have been raised in two separate worlds. And so, yes, there is to a certain degree some alienation, some cultural differences. But I mean, we are all human and we just kind of have to accept that. And yes, it's like, yeah, when I'm writing when I'm writing any character, I just think, okay, where am I here? Okay, change it to this. Okay, this character is a little bit more brave than I am, so I'm going to take a little bit of that fear out. Or this character is a little bit more nervous than I am, so I'm going to make the anxieties seem a little bit louder than they actually are. And that's where it goes.
Is that how you start the characters, or is that how you continue the
Honestly, yes.
characters?
Every character starts with me, and then I change it from there based on how they're different from me. Yes, that's exactly how I do it.
Fair enough. I have not been doing this long enough or enough to say any kind of process. But at this point, I feel like I just know who my characters are. I feel like I know
And
their
and that's
personalities
the
at
thing.
this point. I don't know how fast I learned them, but I feel like it happened pretty quick.
Well, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing is a good idea. It is what I do, but I have had like in the early days of my writing, I have had people tell me, all of your characters sound the same because
Oh,
they all
really?
sounded like yeah, because they all sounded like me, but that's where I got into the mentality of like, okay, this person is starting with me, but
Oh, you
they're
know what?
different in this way, so I have to
I
change
took
this
some
about them.
hard cheats to get
Mm,
around that. I
okay,
have a character from the 1600s. I have another character from the 1200s. I have a character from modern day. They literally do not have the capability of speaking in the same way. So I cheated real hard to
I
make
see.
sure that
Okay,
my characters spoke differently. Uh, so yeah, like I said,
yeah.
I
Well, see,
can't speak to
and
shit.
acting helps because that's one of the things they teach you how to
Mhm.
study is like, okay, this person has this kind of mentality, so this is their speech pattern or vice versa. And so to be able to think
Well,
that
with
way,
the voice acting for the narration and everything like that, no, I have put a ton of effort into learning how to speak like different people.
yeah,
Which like
yes,
I
hmm,
know in between the prologue and chapter and the first three chapters of book one, oh my god, there is at least 10 voices in there that are completely, you cannot tell that they are the same person. But
hmm,
my favorite is the cabbie.
Oh yeah, yes, yep. I
And
could tell you
I
were
may
having
need to,
fun with that one.
yeah, I may need to go back and redo that chapter just in case there's a better place to use that voice where he can be a more prominent character.
Okay.
Because like the mysticism aspect of that chapter one and him just popping in, I thought he might like wind up being a chauffeur or something.
Okay. I
So
see what you're thinking. Okay.
that's what I was kind of gearing up for. But to find out that that's a one-off character is like I can't use that voice for a one-off, even though it's the perfect cabbie voice.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
I know. So now I you know what, that's gonna be a decision because that might actually just be what it is. But
Okay.
that prologue was I think seven distinct voices, and maybe only three of them you can tell are me. That one was I sent that off as a sample to some other people,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, no, that's I goddamn that one's gonna be fun. I need to. I'm trying to figure this out because what we talked about, I might be buying a forest pretty soon here.
Right. Yeah. That's
So
wild.
my recording studio may be completely different and everything may be completely so I may be completely starting over every project that I'm working, which will be a little bit wild, and that's going to
Yeah.
take me like a month just to recover all of those projects again. But um no, yeah, I'm thinking about buying a near 40-acre forest, which
You're actually going to be able to. You're actually talking buying property. That blows my mind. I didn't think anyone younger than me would ever be able to do that. I still can't. Like
no,
I'm.
it's it's a little bit tricky, but the interest rates are kind of the lowest that they've been for a long time, and now's kind of the time to jump in on that. Housing prices might go down in the future. I kind of doubt it.
Hmm.
I mean, unless we have another uh,
Well,
global
here.
issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like I think that's what's you're looking for a home.
Yeah.
And that's the main issue that I think we have with the entire real estate world right now is the fact that we stopped treating them as homes and we started treating them as investments. Like
Oh,
when
yeah.
when property went from being a necessity to an investment, that's really when everything went to hell. And and until we can go back to that,
Nope.
put
I'm
housing back
looking
to
for
being
a place to get old and smoke a pipe and sit
exactly,
there
yeah.
and work on my Gandalf impression until I die.
There you go. Yeah. And see, and
So,
that's what you're supposed to do. And the problem is that most property is priced at investment prices, not die here prices. And
yeah.
no one can afford that anymore. And
But like I showed you some photos of this place. It is an
yeah,
Amish built home on 36-acre forest. The biggest downside is it's in fire country.
okay.
It's a pretty
That
big
is an
downside.
issue. Yeah, especially with all those trees around you.
Yeah, I mean a 36-acre forest, that's nice until it's on fire.
Yeah. Yep.
So, there are some decisions to go in there. But also talking about buying that that historic schoolhouse,
Yeah.
which the more photos I find of it, Doc, that's like three times bigger than I even thought. Like
Okay.
it is way bigger than I thought. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, yes, I can afford it. Yes, I can put the work into it. If anything goes wrong with that, oh my god, can you imagine a plumbing problem on a property that big?
That's the thing. Big and made of concrete, which means like,
Access,
walls have to come down
well,
if there's
no,
an
like
issue.
that's the thing. Like because of how it's built, there are those in between walls that like for access. Like
Oh,
everything is built
oh,
like old school like that.
oh, well, I mean, okay, that's not so bad then, if it's accessible.
Oh, dude, it's completely like it's constructed in a way for secret passages. Dude, this place is so freaking perfect for me. I don't know how to talk myself out of buying it. It is less than half of the price of the other one. It dropped by $16,000 just since I showed it to you.
Huh.
Like it keeps going down
What's
in price.
wrong with it then? I mean, aside from it being out in the middle of fucking nowhere, what's wrong with it if it keeps dropping in price like that?
It's an unincorporated town. There's no services around. Uh, there is a well there, but they left it and it went kind of, you gotta fix it. You gotta fix it. So they have to
Okay.
import water and all this stuff. But at the same point, you don't need a well. You can also get a water. You can also build a water tower there, and pretty much the same thing. Like the amount of work that it would take, like you get like a couple, like $200,000-300,000, and you can turn this place into a very nice place. I ain't that kind of person.
No, yeah.
I'll spend 15 years going room by room.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Which, if it's your home, that's not a big deal. In fact,
no.
that's kind of the dream, in fact.
Yeah, and not to flip it, but just literally to have something like that in my family.
Yeah.
And ooh, from the grave, if it was sold like the year I died,
Someone's getting haunted.
I'm haunting the shit out of somebody. Like whoever buys it, I'll be like just pop up and be like, "Hey, all right, look, there's a lock of hair hidden in that wall. Mail it to this person." I will come back. I will be aggro. um, no, it's but buying proper, but that's the thing. Like I never bought a place as we were like I was doing my thing or like that. I never even tried, never looked into it, never thought about it
Hmm.
because I never wanted to stay in any one of those places.
Okay.
But it's
You're starting to
now
feel that need to nest now?
not really. I'm in the Rocky Mountains and I've always wanted to live in the mountains. So it's just at this point it's like why am I renting when I'm
Okay.
where kind of like I don't want to be in the city. I'm in Denver. I don't want to be in the city. I want to be in the mountains. It's where I've wanted to be since I grew up on the Great Plains. You understand what that means?
I mean, kind of.
It's
Um,
about as I mean, it's as flat as the ocean.
okay.
It's boring.
Right.
Just driving for hours and all you see is just the grass doing this shit. Like no, boring. However, next level beauty when it comes to sunrise and sunset.
Okay.
Like it's like every sunrise is coming over fog and it goes forever just like it's ocean because you're not there's no mountains in the way, there's no like big buildings, nothing. You are watching that red ass sun pop up and just every bit of it and it lasts a long time. And like it was kind of funny like we were up
Hmm.
there and the first time that I took my wife up there and it was 10:55 when the sun went down.
Okay.
Like that's how and magic hour lasted for about 3.5 hours.
Hmm. Okay.
There is significant beauty up there. However, it's so flat that you can smell a fart from 100 miles away if the wind is strong enough. It's not right, man. It's too much.
Right. Yeah.
And so like being up in the mountains, perfect. It's what I've always wanted. I mean, dude, when I was deployed and I was living in Kosovo, every morning I walked out of my hooch and I went up and I just looked at this big ass beautiful mountain that was right across from our post. I was like, I don't need to go back to America. I'm just fine right here. But that's kind of the same feeling I've been chasing since I got here. That view I had of Mount Hood was pretty close.
Okay. Okay.
Only I was like 3 times further away.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? But that, I mean, that's one of the main differences between you and I. It's just like I look at that place and you're like, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like for me, I'm kind of the exact opposite. Like I'm the kind of person who wants to live in a city center where everything I could possibly need is within walking distance. Like that's
The convenience of that is very, very nice. The noise is not.
Okay. See, I got used to the noise because that's where I grew up, was in places like that. And so, yeah. Except for the
And
like
yeah,
there was one place I lived in that was in a really like one of those locations. It was kind of one of my favorite apartments I ever rented, where we literally grocery store, bars, restaurants, movie theaters were in walking distance to where we were. But it
yeah,
also
the
meant
gallery. Oh, you never
no,
lived there.
no, yeah, this was before the gallery, before we met you.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah. Oh, so like up on 21st.
yeah, that's the one. Yep. Had a
Got it.
the ground floor of my building was a dope hangout coffee shop. I met like a bunch of I like met friends there, you know. Um, but yeah, we were on the bar crawl street. So Friday and Saturday nights, we could hear drunk people yelling as they were going by at 2 o'clock in the morning. That was the
Yeah,
only thing that
that
ever
was the big
bothered me.
downside of living in the gallery.
Yeah.
Um, like for some reason, the woman I was dating would love to park on the dark street where there was no lights and all the drug deals went down. And like, so I'd have to walk her to her car at night and then just every night be like, haha, is this the night I die? Like, and I had that happen one night. I walked her to her car, and as I was walking back, you just kind of hear that like people running up on you, like so,
Right. Yeah.
and just really loud right behind me, and like I knew what was gonna go down. And at this point, I was kind of buff, so I just turned around and I looked at this dude, and I went, "Do I look like somebody who's gonna get rolled tonight?" And I slowly turned back around and just slowly walked the rest of the way into the gallery. I don't know if you can tell from behind, but every single sphincter I had was puckered. And I'm like, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. I was so terrified, but I was like, dude, you gotta do something because it's about to happen anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And no, because we had, what was it, 12 halfway homes within a 3 block radius of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a safe place. Um, However, I do remember there was a drug deal that was going down in the alcove of like because when I
Oh.
was on the first floor in that area over
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So people were talking all this and like they were talking so loud that I woke up in the middle of the night and I sleep in the buff. And I walk downstairs and I go to the bathroom. And as I'm walking back up, I see all these people in the windows. Like they start like getting out of the light and into the shadow of the alcove and all this.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, I know what's happening here. And I just go up and as hard as I can, bam, just right on the door and just scared the hell out of all of them. And again, I just calmly turned around and walked upstairs. And it was my bright, shiny white ass that stopped any kind of violence from happening because like just like what the motherfucker, yo, look at that white ass. And they just laughed and I went upstairs and it got very quiet after that. So I'm either they went back to their deal and were just very quiet about it
Right.
or
Yeah.
they left. But no, that was
Which that's the
my
thing. It's like
bright white ass is
if you want to
what's
deal drugs in front of my place, at least be quiet about it. I mean, come on.
there's got to be some level of consideration that enters the
Exactly.
ring.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I am ready to be done.
Okay. Yeah.
I got plenty
I
of
think
footage.
we covered what 13, 14 subjects that time.
Yeah, we really didn't stick to a an individual one, but
I might actually go back and watch and see if I ever completed a single thought like that.
oh man, did I have the ADHD on this episode? I think like I got too used to it and rolling with it.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I know I had like I know that most of my things I'm like, okay, I've got something to say, and it's got 4 points, you know, and
Oh
I know
shit. Okay,
it's
I
so
didn't
it's
realize it. I
sometimes
didn't like you got to
it's
tell me if
sometimes
something's that deep.
I'm not always aware myself until I get there.
Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough.
I think
All right.
you ask me a lot about my process, and I think my biggest confession is I don't have one.
Well, currently that is my position. But
Yeah.
all right.
So
We're gonna take